Hello, welcome to another episode of People of Middlebury. I'm Hiruy Ephrem, and today's guest we have Debanjan Roychoudhury. How you doing, man? Thank you so much for being on the
doing great.
show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Thank you. It's an
For
honor.
real.
It's an honor for me, my man. I remember when I first saw you. The first time I saw you was here during preview days. When I was like, you were a freshman and I was a sophomore. Oh no, you were a freshman.
I was about to say, I was like,
it's just the whole craze of just like being a sophomore now. Yeah.
it's fun.
So crazy, yeah. But like, I remember when you were a freshman, I was, still senior in high school. Come and check out the college, and I saw you at Verbal Onset. And I was like, yeah, I know that kid. And then like, to come back here and then see you around and then getting to know you a little more, I think that was really cool.
Thanks.
On the
It's
real,
nice to know you, man, because you do stuff like this. It's exciting.
Oh man, it ain't all that. But I mean, so today's show, I really want to cover. I mean, your performance is coming up recently.
Yep.
We'll keep it in the back, and as well as like your involvement with the CSE, Center for Social Entrepreneurship. And but before we go all that, I think it's also a lot of the people who are gonna watch this probably don't know you like I do. I think it's very important to start with the generics, and so I want to ask you, where are you from?
So I am very proudly from Queens, New York.
Queens, New York.
Queens, New York, Jamaican neighborhood to be specific. I love it there. It's home. It's home. It's home. I'm not born, but I was raised in New York since I was 3, and I found my way to Middlebury College through something called the Posse Scholarship, the Posse Foundation Scholarship, which is a leadership merit scholarship, full tuition, and it's based on leadership. Obviously, academic excellence was part of it, and really bringing something unique and bringing something sort of intangible to a campus like Middlebury College, which is looking for that. So we have 2 cohorts here per year.
Yeah.
Cohorts of 10 to 12 from New York and Chicago. And I'm lucky enough to be in the New York cohort, Middlebury Posse 14. And we've our 3rd cohort from Chicago coming now. And my senior year, we're actually going to have the first ever Los Angeles Posse.
Angeles.
Come to Middlebury College. Yep. They're coming a long way.
East to west right here. We have East Coast, we have Midwest, now we have
Yep,
West Coast.
absolutely, and they're going to be part of the STEM Posse: Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics. So we're excited for that. And yeah, it was quite a big change from the big city to the Green Mountains. But I've enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed my time here, and I think I miss home often, but it's been great to make that transition.
That's great. That's great. And so let's delve into your CSE project. What is it?
So I am a Center for Social. All right, this is a mouthful.
You got it.
I'm a Center for Social Entrepreneurship fellow. So the Middlebury Center for Social Entrepreneurship is behind the Davis Family Library. They're a wonderful center on campus that funds all types of innovative, creative fellowships that have the social entrepreneurship basis. So I heard about their 2-year fellowship, which basically takes place over the summer after your sophomore year and the summer after your junior year, where you delve into a project of your social entrepreneurial
Like endeavor.
endeavor. Yeah, exactly. So I, being from New York and having a very particular experience in New York with police, with figures of authority in the wake of 9/11, and just sort of a whole lot going on in New York at the time, I was very deeply interested in community policing. Being a sociology major, it's also part of what I've studied. I took a class called Urban Underclass in Public Policy. I wrote a paper all about community policing and the differences between, broken windows policing, which is what's employed in New York since basically the war on drugs started, and things more like the beat cop, where you see a cop and you say hi and they know your name. Things that were more popular before the 80s. So having studied this academically, I really wanted to delve into it. I wanted to work with police. I wanted to see their standpoint. I wanted to see, what police departments were doing to sort of better the often hostile relations between police and communities of color primarily. So I applied, and I was accepted, and I was very happy. And I contacted a police officer in Chicago. So here's a kind of tree. It's a colleague of my brother's. My brother's in a PhD program. A colleague of his is a professor at Lewis University, which is just outside of Chicago.
Okay.
And he teaches PhDs in education. He teaches classes, particularly in the sociology of education. So one of his students, one of his PhD students, he said, is a member of the Chicago Police Department,
PhD
CPD,
student. Okay.
who's pursuing her PhD in education, and she runs her own camp, her own nonprofit.
Ah.
So I said, Brad, I said, Professor Porfilia, could you please get me in contact with this officer? He said, sure. We exchanged emails, myself and Officer Jennifer Maddox, an amazing woman. And, the rest was sort of history. So I planned to, I made my plans to stay in Chicago for 5 weeks and really be a part of her nonprofit, which is called Future Ties. And they run a free summer camp in the Woodlawn neighborhood of Chicago for kids from kindergarten to 8th grade. It's completely free of charge, and it's really just for the kids to have somewhere safe, to hang out, to learn, to just have a good time and really get ready for the school year. So I was there sort of helping out with writing exercises and sort of theatrical exercises, stuff that I love and have always been a part of my life. So simultaneously I was working with kids, and I was also seeing how Officer Maddox was really doing community policing in action, and it showed, and it was phenomenal to learn about not only her, but also the other things that the CPD is sort of doing to improve relations, because they see that as being something important to the work that they do. Do they always do the best job? There are differing opinions, but they do have youth explorers programs. They have something called CAPS, which is Chicago Alternative Policing Strategies. And Officer Maddox is somebody who's been heavily involved in the CPD's community engagement policies and sort of community engagement practices for years.
Okay.
So it was amazing to really see what she does and talk to a whole lot of folks at CPD and what they think about, sort of some of the issues that Chicago is facing, but also how to improve police-community relations. So it's phenomenal. I learned a lot. What I'm going to do with all that information, I don't know. Maybe some senior work. Stay posted. But next summer, I will also be working. Again, I have funding from the CSE to do one more summer and sort of implement, my own experience and implement whatever skills I can offer. So I've been, helping Officer Maddox in any way I can with just the administration of her nonprofit. It's a lot of work, and obviously being a full-time officer, PhD student, and having a nonprofit to run, she's got her hands full. So I've just been glad to help her out as much as possible, and it was great. And actually, when I was there, the Chicago Sun-Times wrote an article about her, and they mentioned me briefly, which was nice. But it was really, really just it was great for me to see the work that she was doing get some spotlight. Because, we all hear about a whole lot of negative things happening in Chicago. And
that's true. A lot of the media thrives on negativity.
Yeah, it does. And we also hear a lot about, police just not doing their job to the best of their ability. And that is a reality, and absolutely it should be talked about. But it's also good to see and hear about the police officers who are really trying, and the communities and the ways in which really communities like the one I was staying in Woodlawn, nonprofits like, Future Ties, and individuals like Officer Jennifer Maddox, they're the people who are really doing the work that is necessary. And I think it's great.
That's cool. And so she runs a little camp or nonprofit that helps with young kids usually, right? So what did you do during 5 weeks with the kids?
Yeah, so her nonprofit is it runs after school throughout the year, and then in the summer it's a full-time summer camp. And I was there really helping in any way I can. So I helped out in the kitchen, I helped out in sort of getting kids from one place to another. But really my specialty there was working in sort of writing and performance exercises. So we wrote raps, we wrote poetry, we wrote letters, we wrote speeches, we wrote sort of theatrical acts. We listened to music. We sort of read through scenes from plays like Raisin in the Sun. And we practiced actually getting on a microphone in front of a crowd and saying, "Hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm going to perform this for you," which is something I've done many times in my life. But for a little kid, it can often be really intimidating. And it could be intimidating for all of us.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
So I really just tried to work with them in getting over some of those fears, being confident on the microphone, speaking clearly, speaking with confidence, which I think is really a skill that anyone would love to have. And I like to think the kids had fun. They always referred to it as rap class, and they called me Mr. Debanjan. And it was a lot of fun. It was challenging at times, but it was a lot of fun, and I love working with young people. I actually work at the Addison Teen Center, Addison Central Teens, which is right past Twilight.
so down the hill, big of the hill.
And I've been doing it since my freshman year here, and I've loved it. I work with teenagers from the Addison County community.
Yeah.
Helps me break the Middlebury bubble, so to speak, and I really, really, really enjoy it. Hanging out with the kids, it helps me feel grounded here, you know, and they have a lot to say, and often they don't get heard, so it's just nice to be there and just be a set of ears, and some of them rap, and some of them are good, and I've been glad to sort of coach them a little bit in any way I can. And actually, we're going to have a teen from the community open up that performance you were talking about on Saturday.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So.
Great segue. So talk to us about this. So it seems like rap performance and all that kind of stuff has been in your life for quite a while. And we had the showcase coming up, the Creative Maladjustment
Showcase, yeah.
Showcase, yeah. And so tell us a little more about it, and of course some of the history that goes behind it as well. I think it's very interesting to hear about.
I'd love to. I grew up seeing my brother perform a lot. He was a part of something called Urban Word in New York City when he was in high school, and I was a real little kid. And I got to see him really go through the spoken word scene in New York. He performed at the New Eurekan. He opened up for Immortal Technique and Kanye West.
He opened up for Kanye West?
Yeah, this was before he was really big, and his head got bigger than everything else. But he did open up for Kanye West when he was first coming out, right after Through the Wire and all that. And getting to see my brother just go through it and really become a performance artist in his own right was inspiring to me. And I'd always felt like expressing myself. I was always a writer. And I had done some theater in school, but I'd never tried my hand at writing or rapping or spoken word poetry or anything like that. So one day he was going back to the New Eurekan Poets Cafe. This was after he graduated from Vanderbilt University, also on a Posse scholarship.
He was Vanderbilt Posse as well?
Yeah, he was
really
Vanderbilt
cool.
Posse 15, so he graduated in 2004.
Okay.
Yeah. 2008, I'm sorry, 2004. He started in 2004, he graduated in 2008.
Okay.
And this was after that, around 2010, 2011, he was going to perform at the New Eurekan Poets Cafe with his good friend Kevin, who you'll also see on Saturday. And he invited me. He said, why don't you come? I like some of the stuff you've been writing. And I was terrified, man. I was just a little high schooler. But I got up there and I did my thing and I enjoyed it. I loved it. And really, I've been performing ever since. I've been to a lot of places around the country. And I've done a lot of rap, but I've also done some theater.
Theater as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I performed in a Shakespeare play, Antony and Cleopatra. I was Mark Antony. I don't know if that's hard to believe. I was Mark Antony and Antony and Cleopatra.
Full surprises, my man.
My senior year of high school. And that was a lot of fun. Okay. We worked and we rehearsed, and I took a Shakespeare class, and I love Shakespeare. I love his monologues, love his dialogues. I think he's a great writer, and I just had a lot of fun doing it. So I was like, this is something I want to do. And theater and rap to me are like cousins. One is sort of the classical fine art, and the other is really what's kind of taken place in a new culture, right? And sort of urban youth culture, and even beyond. Now it's a global culture.
Indeed.
But really, if you think about theater and rap, they go very much hand in hand. I mean, if you think about Tupac, who's really the most iconic rapper to ever live, he was theatrically trained. I mean, he was on Broadway when he was like 12 or something, right?
Broadway?
I think he was in Raisin in the Sun, but you might have to fact check that. I don't want to say anything wrong, but yeah. So I think those two have been always a very easy fit for me. So I've enjoyed doing both. I've performed a lot here, like you said, at Verbal Onslaught, and I've been happy to do a bunch of different shows for different cultural orgs and things of that nature. And I've also performed with the theater department and the dance department here with Professor Crystal Brown and Professor Dana Yetton for their production of Opulence of Integrity, which was wonderful. I had a great time. I've also worked with Professor Dana Yetton for the Martin Luther King Day festivities here. So rapping and doing theater and doing spoken word and doing all sorts of oratory work has really, really been a fabric of my enjoyment here, and really just a part of my being and a part of how I spread my message and my opinions and my emotions and all that. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And so, Saturday, we got Creative Maladjustment Showcase.
Yep.
And so, what exactly should we be expecting?
Okay, where should I start? So, Creative Maladjustment, the name comes from something that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself said at the 1968 American Psychological Association Conference. Basically, the shortened version is he told the psychologists that, you guys have a term called adjustment. You should adjust to all the awful things that you've endured in your life, to, all of societal's expectations, and just everything. You should just adjust, right? Behaviorally adjust. And what he said is, that's kind of messed up if you think about it. In a broken society where, society's norms, cultural norms are not always fair, when trauma is real, and often you have to protest in your own life to keep yourself alive, you must creatively maladjust. So he had a call in 1968 for a call for creative maladjustment, right? And this is sort of in the spirit of that. My brother and his fiancée Lauren, both of them being graduates of Vanderbilt University and PhD students in psychology at the City University of New York Graduate Center, they have studied psychology and they've studied behavior and sort of trauma, and they've also studied the ways in which the arts, and in their case hip-hop, can really be used as tools to creatively maladjust. So the trauma that every individual faces in their daily lives, to racism, sexism, the list goes on. And those are all things that we have to be aware of, but we don't necessarily have to accept. And that doesn't mean we should necessarily rebel entirely, because that would mean sort of putting yourself away from an institution, but creatively maladjusting, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So what you can expect is a presentation, performance, and panel by the Hip Hop Development Performing Arts Movement, which is myself, my brother, Lauren, and Kevin. All of them graduates of Vanderbilt University together. Kevin, a teacher, 7th grade math teacher, Yes Prep Charter School, and also rap coach there. Already talked about my brother and Lauren, and here I am. You can expect a performance from us of various rap, street jazz, spoken word pieces that will really weave into it sociological and psychological theory and sort of theory, and it really just delves into a lot on both the personal and the global level about some of the crises that we're facing now, right? Stuff I've talked about, like police-community relations, right? Family, love, marriage, capitalism, right? The list goes on. You can expect performances that will delve into the various topics in the light of Martin Luther King's words. You can expect a presentation on what we've all been doing individually to implement creative maladjustment and implement hip hop into education, therapy, and academia, really. And you can expect a panel afterwards that will really discuss everything that we've been doing. So I hope that makes sense. So it'll be a lot jammed into 2 hours, and it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be very interactive. There'll be chances
That's
for
perfect, yeah.
for you in the audience to get on stage. There'll be time for you to ask questions and all of that. And I think it's going to be really a lot of fun. I think it's going to be very educational and very thought-provoking at the least.
Yeah, no, that's what we need.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we really need, some thought-provoking. And it's very good. That's what we go to college for, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
You can't, recently, we've been having this conversation, like, the value of college is being, kind of questioned. And, like, I think opportunities like this is, like, truly kind of, like, show what college is for, It's not just classroom.
Absolutely.
It's always a lot.
Absolutely.
A lot of it has to do outside of classroom.
Yeah.
And so, you heard it here. Creative Maladjustment Showcase from 5 to 7 p.m. and previously McCullough Social Space, but today they call it the Wilson Hall.
Right.
But yeah, so we have to adjust to that now. But yeah, and so Debanjan, it's an honor to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great way to start off the year.
Thanks so much.
And good luck. I'll see you there. It'll be great.
See you there.
Okay.
All the best.
Thank you so much.